Hey everyone, it's Jamie and welcome back to my channel. Today we are in Oasis Springs and we are building in the park known as Desert Bloom. Part of my rebuilding all of the Sims also includes all of, the parks and community lots. So for this one, I decided that I wanted to build not just another park, because I've been doing that, and in all of the worlds I've been trying to include lots where Sims can get married, so like some marriage lots, and usually I make very Western kind of like churches and stuff. Like I've done a few Gothic churches. I recently just built, I don't have the footage edited yet, but I have a video build. I just did this on my gallery where I did the build for Magnolia Park, the one that's in Willow Creek, and I did kind of like a Southern Baptist kind of church for that one. So for this one I decided I wanted to go a little outside of the Western canon, and I decided to do a mosque. As far as mosques go, I'm going to be honest, this is not the most realistic or accurate looking one, so I do apologize. I was looking at a lot of examples, and then I was finding some pretty kind of ones that kind of broke some traditions or the usual build, and I was looking at some round ones, and I was like, ooh, that's what I want to do, not really realizing that I feel like the idea of it being a mosque kind of suffered a little bit. I do really like this build, and I do like how the mosque itself generally looks. It's it is what it is. It has a nice kind of gold dome, and I have a wedding arch on the inside, and then I have a backyard. Well, I call it courtyard, but I think it's called something a little different, a little bit more specific when you're talking about Islamic architecture. I don't remember what it's called, though. I apologize. But yeah, that was my idea. I wanted to just do something out of the ordinary for me, and include a lot more, diversity in my own game and my save file, especially since The Sims not too long ago released that update where we got kind of, these, what I call them, Gothic arches, but they were definitely thinking more of Islamic architecture, which I did mention in my review of that update is where Gothic arches come from, so I'm not completely wrong in calling it that, but it definitely is what their intention. And then we also got some new Islamic headscarves, and that's also the update where we got convertible stairs. It was a very big update, and like I said, what I decided to do is I decided to finally just use those items for kind of their intentional purpose, as well as I've studied mosques, not I have studied them a little. When you study Gothic architecture, it's I don't want to say it's expected, but it makes sense to also do a lot of research when it comes to the Islamic architecture and mosques, just because it is a big influence on Gothic architecture. So that's kind of my knowledge where it comes into mosques, and Islamic architecture comes from my Gothic architecture knowledge. So I do completely want to just be open about that and be yep, there is some holes in my knowledge, there's some things I just don't know. And even as I was building this, I was very aware that it's not the most maybe traditional mosque, but I'm fine with that. Hopefully no one, I don't want to offend anyone or upset anyone, so I hope everyone who I hope they find something they enjoy about this. And I will say, generally in my church builds and stuff, I generally try to make them very multi-use, especially when they're in kind of these public park areas. Some of them not so much. Like there's that one I built, St. Valentine's Church or whatever. That one is completely used for marriage. But whenever I'm doing kind of like the big parks and the big worlds, my goal always is to make them very accessible in other ways too. Like, not only does this also have like a playground at it and a basketball court, place to grill, place for food stall stuff, there's also within, you know, this specific like the mosque itself, there's also, you know, you can play card games and do yoga and meditation, as well as get married. So, you know, I definitely tried to build it with the intention that it could be used for many things. Just because in The Sims we don't really have like a religious system, so having this be a solely religious building just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And because of that, you know, we get a lot of multi-use out of these kind of builds, or at least how I view them and when I'm doing them. Sorry if my voice sounds weird. I think it's getting better, but it's still not great. So I severely apologize if it's annoying or I sound deathly. I promise I do feel better. Just, I guess, getting over that last hurdle or whatever. Anyways, so I had a lot of fun also building this dome. I kind of built it in like 3 pieces, or 4, I guess. So I did this part here, and it's kind of low to the ground. Then I used some half walls to go around it, and then I put the dome in it. But then later I'll take the dome out to make kind of like, I want to call it a gallery, but I don't think that's the correct term. But essentially, something for the dome itself to really sit on, to bump out more, to sit a little bit better on it, as well as allow for some more windows on the top. I do use the Realm of Magic windows as well. If you're unaware, a big part of the Gothic stained glasses that we know, especially rose windows, do originally come from the Islamic tradition as well. So I definitely was trying to reference that when I do put those in, but that's not going to be till later. This video is going to be so long. It is mostly me just building this. This took a lot of time and effort, and that's why, you know, I'm pretty happy with it, even though I do think it might have some issues. People might look at it and go, not the most traditional. And I also don't want like to upset anyone, because I didn't make it specifically a space of worship, but I don't really do that with any of my spaces of worship. I also don't really make them with the intention to be used as that. I usually build them with the intention that they're gonna be solely used for like marriage and like maybe skill building. I don't know if anyone, whenever I build especially park lots that you get married in, I want them to be very useful. I do have a few just specific marriage lots that I've made, and as much as I do like building those also, those generally are just so much more, I don't want to say useless, but you have less of a reason to really go there. You know, every once in a while I think I'll have a sim that's like, oh, let's hang out and let's go to this park that, you know, I specifically built just for weddings. I'm like, ooh, no. I'm like, ooh, this sim here, they really be flirting, putting down the moves. One thing about this build I'm not super crazy about is so the tower in the back, which I did know the correct name for but I kind of forget at this moment. I apologize. It's only accessible on the first floor, and then up above the kind of like gallery of arches that you can walk through, there's like what looks like a walkway up there. You can't go up there. If this was more legit, more attempting to actually be a mosque, I definitely would have made those spots a little bit more accessible. But my intention was that, I don't know, I just didn't see them needing to be used. I mean, feel free if you download this, if you want to make up there more accessible, you definitely can by adding a stairwell in where I put the bathroom later. You see this is where I put in the space for the stained glass. As you see here, I kind of I put up way too high. Gotta adjust the size and stuff. And honestly, I do like the dome more, that it's kind of, I don't say propped up, but it definitely sticks up a little bit more from the rest of it. I don't know, it just kind of gives it more of a, I don't know, before, I just didn't really like how it looked. It looked so weird against the bottom part, if that makes sense. Originally, I was playing out these other windows, and I was thinking of the Hagia Sophia, I think that's how you pronounce it. Was originally a Christian site that was then converted in Turkey by Muslims, which also, using that as an example for its stained glass, might not be the most accurate, seeing as that was not built with the intention of being a mosque. But it's, I think, one of the biggest example, one of the best examples, really. And it's beautiful there, and I think it also maybe adds to maybe some of the architectural confusion that I had while building this. I definitely do plan on building another one. I do like this one. We'll definitely probably keep this where it is. But I do want to build another one, maybe one a little more, I don't say traditional, but a little closer to how they generally look. Maybe not go as maybe make myself be a little more truthful, I guess, to my source material. Because generally when I do my gothic ones, I definitely get super like, gotta make this as best I can. Which I still have that mentality here, but I definitely here was like also a little bit more like, I just want to have fun and explore. And like I said, I did have a lot of fun making this, and I loved looking at different examples. Inside here, I was trying to reference also, when we get to it, in Islam, you're supposed to, everyone kind of prays together on the floor, on their knees on the floor. And I know generally it's men and women are supposed to be separated. I didn't create two separate spaces, but also I was creating this solely as a wedding venue inside of here, as you'll see, and to try to mimic that place where people would all go together and get on their knees and pray. We don't have anything like that, so I put this little tiny cushion, the one we got from Cats and Dogs, and it's not the best I could have done, but I liked how it looked. And for those who don't know, because maybe you haven't studied it, the reason it's like that in Islam, it's supposed to be because everyone's equal. And then depending on your branch of Islam, some separate men and women, some don't. If you don't know, so part of the main reason Islam was created was not just because Muhammad allegedly spoke to God, but Muhammad also felt as though the Christian religion, which at that point would eventually, in all of its traditions, be really known as the Catholic Church eventually. But in the Catholic tradition, in the early Christian tradition, there's a very specific hierarchy within the Catholic Church that definitely came from the medieval period, and a little bit earlier. As soon as like the Pope was established in this hierarchy, pretty much it's like you need to have a relationship with the Pope and your own church and your bishop and the deacon and so far and so forth. Like there was a really big emphasis on the relationships you built within it, and there's a hierarchy, and you definitely had to I guess really respect a lot of the authority. And then part of Muhammad going out, he having this vision, he'd kind of come to the conclusion that the Christian religion just really wasn't equal, and that's part of the reason he went out. And then God spoke to him allegedly. I like to say allegedly because I don't ever want to pick a side when it comes to religion. I'm very in the middle of all religions cool with me, but we might call that lawyer speak to be like allegedly. So not to offend anyone who is, and I don't want you to be offended by me saying allegedly. It's just me trying to keep it equal. I should probably really refrain from talking too much about religion on this channel. But yeah, hopefully no one gets upset by that. And as you see here, I'm putting, I really loved building this courtyard. I put like a little, not pond, fountain, very fancy, as well as I also put out that yoga instructor, so that way you can come and sign up for a yoga lesson, as well as I put out eventually a Don't Wake the Llama table, some easels that just like different activities. So if you come here, your Sims can do a lot. It isn't just so much you coming here for a wedding or whatever. If your Sim's like, let's go to the park today, and then you go there, and that way there's more for you to do. Like I said, there's also going to be a basketball court eventually, a playground, a grilling area, swings, food court, not food court, but like those some food stalls and some places to sit down. Like there's definitely a lot to do here, which I think is very fun. But like I said, I did originally say, okay, we need a marriage-ish lot. In this lot also, when you go to download this off the gallery, the photo of it's awful. And that's because the game thinks the front of the lot is the back of the lot, even though when you show up at what is considered the back. You might consider the front. It's very confusing. This isn't the only lot like that in the game. In Strangerville, there's the same issue, which is weird. And it's really just in one lot. It's on the library. And I've noticed every once in a while there's just a few lots in this game that have awful images. There's one in Cats and Dogs, and the lot photo, if you go to upload a picture or upload to the gallery, the image that the game automatically gets is like just of the trees. Like it does not take a picture of your lot. It just like takes the pictures of the trees around it, and you're like, okay, that's fine, I guess. So I guess that's one other thing to be aware of, is that there's just weird lots. So like I said, I just put down a bunch of different stuff. I put stuff for toddlers, for kids. That swing set's definitely for like all ages. The monkey bars. My goal was just to make this as, if you want to bring your kids here, they'll have things to do. If you bring the adults, they'll have things to do. If you want to get married, there's things the guests can do afterwards. This is definitely one of those marriage lots where if you're gonna do cake, you definitely have to bring it here. You can't hire a caterer to build it. There's not a place to build it. And I've also known with caterers, they won't cook on grills. So any Sims that you do bring here for a wedding, they'll probably just need to feed themselves from the food stalls, which I think that could be fun. I don't know how all you feel about that. Oh, I also put down this, like, the exotic pond, and I do, at least for my save file, went out and bought some sharks, and I was playing around with it because I was like wondering, like, because you can fall in, but they don't attack you. And The Sims 4 is very weird with sharks. So there's also sharks in Sulani, and they're very hard to find, but you have to essentially wait in the water long enough and they'll pop up, and then you'll get pulled under, but the game makes it suggested that it's not them, but maybe the sharks are there to, like, warn you that something's coming. I don't know, it's very weird. That's definitely something I think they should have done differently about island living. Some of us just want to get killed by sharks, but I mean, you can be killed by sea monsters that the mermaids summon. But I just wish a shark could just, I don't know, pull you down. And I was playing around with this this pond. You can fall in, but I don't think the sharks will ever attack you. But you do get, like, a moodlet where your Sim's, like, very shaken up from, like, a shark attack or something. It's like a very weird named thing. But it's fun. I think this is another fun thing in the game to add, in my opinion. Here I'm putting out the tables that I'll eventually put the food stall out for as well. Then lead up to the basketball court, and then pretty much that's, like, really much it. Other than, I do eventually add a grilling area, add some more detail over by the swing and grilling area, but pretty much at this point it's coming up to pretty much being done. Like, everything that's down is pretty much it, minus the food stalls and then the wall I put around the basketball court with the basketball hoops eventually. Also, honestly, the basketball court's something I don't ever really play with, but it's something I feel like just needs to be in all, like, the parks and most gyms. Not every gym I build has them, but it's one of those things where I'm like, we definitely need basketballs in every world, just because if not, then you have to go to city living to play. Just like on most lots, I also add, especially like parks and stuff, I'll add a soccer ball. I don't think I added one here, which is fine. We don't need to play soccer here. We're busy with our sharks. Here also, there's not too many food venues or food vendors, but 3's fine. As far as parks that I've built, this might be one of my least favorite ones, but I will say, the building itself, the mosque itself, I'm very proud of, but the park, not super proud of. So if you download this and want to add more things to it, I won't be offended. I just kind of, feel like I was adding the basics. You can come here and paint, you can come here and play basketball, you can come here and play on equipment, get some food, very basic. And compared to some of my other parks, they'll have, like, literally everything under the sun. I guess you could say this one's maybe a little bit more realistic to how parks are, but I will say there's one thing about basketball I noticed. I think you can play against people, but you don't really, like, build teams. I think with the group system from Get Together, you could definitely make a team and have people play. That's fine. It's definitely one of those things where it's like, they didn't give us it exactly, but they definitely gave us the tools to build it. Same with, like, they did that with sororities and some other things in the game, which is fine. Like, we don't need a basketball team in particular, but I definitely think it's one of those things that they could have added. It would have, I don't know, been fine. But like I said, there's definitely a workaround. Pretty much the group system that we got with Get Together, you can do almost anything with. You can make sororities. Sorry, that came out weird. You can make sororities. You can make fraternities. You can make sports teams. You know, you can just do a lot. Here's another thing I asked. One of those like busking stations. I forget what they're called in the game, but you know, it's busking, where you go out and you play music in hopes of making money. I like to add those at parks and public lots. It's just one of the things where I'm like, you know, you definitely always need to put things in the game for people to make money, because, you know, like I said, making a save file, and if anyone does download it and maybe wants to do it rag to riches, or they just like playing in a sense where, you know, they really got to build up their money. There's definitely ways to make money at parks. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one, and make sure to check out some of my other content. Thank you so much, and have a good day.